Shalom, Yasharala. This your brother Dawah from GMS Tampa Bay '07, coming at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rocha, Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught me this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions. All right, we're going to jump into this here lesson. Lord willing, it's not too long or anything like that. But I wanted to get into this lesson to address certain things dealing with more or less religion, more or less to say. I had some family come in town recently. My sister and stuff came into town, and my sister, which she's older than me, she's more or less to say going on her own now, certain, like, opening her eyes up to seeing certain things, and every once in a while when me and my sister do speak, it's one of those things where you have to feed a person like that milk, always feeding the milk. A lot of the time, especially when you're in this truth, you more or less, you're going to know they're not going to get it. You know what I'm saying? But, it's nothing wrong with trying to feed them a little bit of milk here and there, whatever they take, and whatever, whatnot, But nevertheless, me and my sister's conversation kind of sparked like this. She had asked me if I knew what a shaman was, and so I told her I was like, okay, well, I gave her the definition of what it was, and then I told her, because how we brought up in this thing, like, yo, look it up, look it up and you see what the definition is, she didn't want that. She was like, well, you tell me what it is. Like, it don't matter what I think, you look it up what it is, and I was like, basically it's more or less like a witch or a wizard or something like that. And it's just in a more or less like a different language or a different culture. That's just what they would call it, And I was just like, we looked it up, whatever, whatnot. Basically breaks it on down. It's the same thing, But nevertheless, she was dipping and dabbling in a couple little different things, so-called trying to find truth, She's on a so-called mission to find truth out about a lot of different things, with the food and so on and so forth. She's starting to see a lot of things is not right, more or less to say. But, she's going to do what she's going to do, But nevertheless, this conversation kind of sparked and it got my mind thinking about this religious thing, and I kept trying to give it to her because another thing she asked me was if I knew who, she gave me these books to look at, she's like, oh, I got some books for you, I want you to take a look at this and tell me what you think it is, And so she gave me the books or whatever, and opening it up, who they have a picture of, Malachi Z. York, And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I know what this is about, so on and so forth, let her know what it was about, so on and so forth. And then she brought out some other stuff, I think maybe from the Nation of Islam or something like that, And I was just like, I, like, on a deeper level, being in this truth, you understand and discern a lot of things, You already know what they're discerning, what they're desiring and what they really want before they even know what the hell they want, You know what these people are thinking before they even understand why they, why they thinking and doing certain actions before they even realize what the hell they doing, And so I was like, with all these different things you keep showing me and all these different people and all this different stuff, and then the question was asked, do you know about Kemet? And I was like, again, look up that word. Where does that word come from? What does that word mean? Where does it come from? Like the proper way of saying that would be like ham, like when we read in the Bible is ham, But nevertheless, going back into all of that, I was telling her, I was like, it's something strange about all these different things you keep showing me. And I understand where your desire is at, But I said, you have to step back and look at certain things. All these different philosophies you're looking at, they all got one thing in common. They all keep referencing the Bible. They all keep going back to the Bible. And they all keep trying to tell you the people in the Bible is black. But then they add a whole bunch of extra bullshit on the side of it, And I was like, I'm like, that should raise a question, because all these different groups, they're not in bed with one another. You have the, what do they call that? Black consciousness or Kemet type of shit. They're not in league with Malachi Z. York, Malachi Z. York's not in league with the Nation of Islam, more or less to say, But they all have one thing that's basically that you can, like, okay, this is the common thing in between them all, There's so-called, not Africans, but actual black people, But then you always touch it onto the Bible, And so I was trying to tell her about that, and I was like, listen, this is the problem. This is why you won't ever be able to see this, because it's just like the so-called Jewish people. What do the Jewish people do? They hijack that name Jewish, okay, or the Jews, they hijack that name, and then they shit all over the whole planet Earth. So when you want to go and point a finger at them, you always saying the Jews, the Jews, the Jews, the Jews. So when somebody want to try to actually bring you the truth about something, you don't want to hear it. You don't even want to deal with it, you know? Another example, I was like, okay, if I was the damn devil and I didn't want nobody to go to, let's say church was the legitimate thing to do, right? And I didn't want nobody to go to church because that's where the truth is at. What would I do? I would go hijack the church and I would just go be the biggest pedophile in the world doing all kind of crazy shit, you know? So people would be like, you know what? We don't want to go to the church. They got too much pedophilia there, you know? So therefore, you know, you would never go to where the damn truth is at because somebody done hijacked it, you know? And, you know, I was trying to explain to her because, you know, and everybody else is, you know, when you try to bring out the truth, they see you reaching for the Bible, but, you know, they always respond, that's the white man's book, the white man's book. Like, yes, because the white man read this book to you, and only certain things, he didn't tell you certain things, you know? I'm like, they gave you Christianity. They didn't give you this Bible, you know? Just like how we all thought that Jesus' birthday was on Christmas, and so on and so forth, all the extra shit that we thought, but that's not actually in the Bible. You know, I was like, you can't find that in the Bible. And we would all think, we all see the picture of Jesus, who is a white man, and so on and so forth, you know, and none of us question that, you know, but we would question if we seen, you know, a picture of a so-called black savior, you know, we would be all enraged, like, oh, the Lord didn't look like that, you know, but nowhere in the Bible does it tell you that he looked like a white man. In fact, it tells you he looked like a dark-skinned man, a so-called man of color, like a so-called black man, all right? But again, I was like, you know what? I'm like, listen, the Bible is true. They didn't change. She was like, oh, they changed up certain things here. And they're like, no, they didn't change up nothing. All they did was they taught you a story, okay? And just kept you from reading the book. I was like, you ever find it kind of weird that, you know, slaves weren't allowed to read, but if you read the Bible, they would put you to death? Like, obviously it's something important inside the Bible. If they didn't believe the Bible, it was just some bullshit fairy tale, they should be forcing the Bible down your throat because it's going to leave you more lost and fucked up than, you know, you reading some real truth, you know? And I was like, you know, how was it that Joseph, Moses, and Yahushua, or who the world, you know, who they call Jesus, you know, was all mistaken for so-called Africans or Egyptians, you know? Moses was brought in, raised up as what, the Pharaoh's granddaughters, the Pharaoh's daughter's like son or something like that, like the Pharaoh's grandson, more or less to say. And Joseph was like second in charge over Egypt, all right? And when you understand how they was ruling in Egypt, it was more or less off their families, all right? It was like a dynasty, more or less to say, all right? So you wouldn't really have no outside influence or no outside relative or no people outside of your family tree inside the reign of, you know, your rulership, you know? And Yahushua, and this is a perfect example, you know? I had to tell her Jesus, but I was like, listen, if, you know, they will have you believe that those people are white people, but I'm like, yo, listen, if the Romans, you know, the Romans was white people, okay? Now, if the Romans was looking for a so-called white man, which was so-called Jesus, all right, and Jesus decided that he wanted to go hide up, or his parents decided they was going to go hide him in Egypt amongst what you know is historically all black people, that would be an easy fucking sore thumb to find, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, we looking for the one white man amongst all these all these so-called black people, or dark-skinned people, Africans. That would be easy. All right, that's like trying to find Shaquille O'Neal in Japan. You know, they all like 5'2", 5'3", skinny little yellow Asian dudes. You know what I'm saying? You looking for I don't know how tall Shaq is, but you know what I'm saying? The big, tall, so-called black man, he gonna stick out like a sore thumb. All right. So I was like, you know, and it clicked in her mind. She's like, you know what? You're right. I'm like, you see, but see, that's just something you had to think about. Nobody actually told you. You know what I'm saying? That you know, that he was actually like a so-called white man. They didn't change up none of the words in there. You know, they still had the same words, you know. King Herod was, you know, had that warrant out, more or less to say, for all the children being born 3 years and younger, that they would all be put to death, all right? They told you that. Then they told you that Joseph and Mary decided to go to Egypt for, like, I believe it was like 3 years or some years or something like that, all right? And so, you know, they tell you all of that, but you got to use your reading between the lines skills, more or less to say, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you can only go, you know, left or right, you know, it's like with mechanics and stuff like that, you know, they tell you lefty, loosey, tighty, righty, you know what I'm saying? You know, these Edomites be trying to train me on certain things that, you know, we was lacking as having father figures, but nevertheless, I had to snap on them one day. I was like, listen, bro, that lefty, loosey, tighty, righty shit don't always work out, because what happens if you upside down? You know, like if you, let's say you up under the car and you're not looking down on the boat. Now everything's upside down and you might have your hand in a weird place, you know, dealing with the shit that I have to deal with at work, you know. I'm like, it's just more common sense to me. If the shit don't go one way, it's got to go the other way. It can only go either left or it can go right. Okay, if it don't go this way, go that way. You know, so sometimes you got to read between the lines of certain things and just be able to discern certain stuff. Like, okay, well, if, you know, Paul was mistaken as an Egyptian, Joseph was taken for an Egyptian. Moses was taken for an Egyptian. Yahweh Shai got to hide amongst the Egyptians. All right. Now, when you go back to Moses putting his hand inside his bosom and his flesh being turned white as snow and then back again, you see all these different things is letting you know that, you know, these are so-called black people. But again, the religion, more or less, to say that you know, I'm gonna use a fucked up word, but the institution has been hijacked. All right. They didn't hijack the institution and slandered their name, more or less to say, all right? So you got McDonald's and Burger King. So Burger King was like, you know what? Fuck that. You know, you got the king and Ronald McDonald's. You got the king, right? He's like, all right, fuck that. We're going to take some of these Burger King stores and we're going to paint McDonald's on top of them. We're going to switch them around and look like McDonald's, all right? Now we're going to start charging $5 million for Big Macs, and we're going to give out a bunch of, like, fries with, let's say, rats in it or some crazy shit like that, right? For what? So when people go there and they're going to be talking a whole bunch of shit about McDonald's, all right? And so now the person wouldn't even want McDonald's no more. Like, nah, we don't want McDonald's. They trying to rape a person over some fucking a $5 million Big Mac, you know what I'm saying? And rats in the fries. We don't want that shit. But McDonald's ain't really doing that, you know what I'm saying? It's Burger King who didn't, you know what I'm saying, and painted their stores like McDonald's so that you would perceive that it's McDonald's doing it, all right? And so that's exactly what happened there. And I was like, yo, it's clearly written in the scriptures, but again, you know how you say it's the white man book, the white man gave us this religion and so on and so forth. Well, I mean, he gave us this religion, but he didn't give us this book like that, all right? And like all these scriptures are still in the same book, all right? And this isn't even part, well, some of it is in the part of the book he took out, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's in there. We just don't read that, all right? So I'm going to just jump into the scriptures because I got quite a few precepts to pull. Like I said, Lord willing, it's not, you know, too drawn out. But nevertheless, we're going into the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 11, verse 13. Verse 13. 2 Corinthians 11 and 13. For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Hamashiach. All right? Man, Satan would have it where we get the hiccups right now. But nevertheless, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of this stuff, you know, I can't even say that because really you got to have the spirit of power, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, on you to discern this stuff. But I mean, to somebody who has that spirit, it's simple as day, you know? You could break this shit down on like a elementary school level. Like, let's just use the words that we have just given, all right? It says, for such are what? False apostles, meaning they're not the right apostles. They're deceitful apostles. They're the wicked, you know? They imitation, all right? That's like saying, now, I'm not promoting eating crab meat. That's an abomination. But you have, you know, crab meat and imitation crab meat, all right? Why do you have the separation? Because one is real and the other one ain't real. One is an imposter, all right? One ain't the real deal, all right? It says, it's like, would you want real money or would you want counterfeit money, all right? The counterfeit money gonna get your ass fucked up, locked up in jail, probably killed or some crazy shit. That's gonna just lead you down to death and destruction, all right? But nevertheless, it says, for such are false apostles, all right? Being falsely sent out. That word apostle means to be sent forth. All right, so they were sent forth in falsehood. All right, deceitful workers. All right, so what are they working in? Deceitfulness. They're working in lies and it's bullshit. All right, transforming themselves. The Lord didn't transform them. The Lord didn't put the spirit on them. These people did this upon their own self. All right, to beguile the rest of the people, to fleece the flock. All right, it says transforming themselves into apostles of Hamashiach. All right, converting themselves into so-called Christian or men of the Lord and things like that, all right? These aren't the real people, all right? I mean, we should be able to just end there, but you know what I'm saying? The scriptures is filled with this, all right? Verse 14, and no marvel, for Satan himself, all right? So who we talking about here? Satan, the damn devil, all right? We gonna find out what the damn devil gonna look like here on the planet Earth today. When you're looking for the damn devil today, you know, not physically, you know, because we know the devil, the physical counterpart on the planet Earth of the devil is these Edomites, the so-called white man. But however, if you want to find out where the spirit of the devil lies at, all right, and how to notice it, and how to be able to depict it and see what it look like and shit like that, you know, this is how you do it. It says, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed or changed into an angel of light. All right, so you know, reading context, what would an angel of light be if you was to perceive what that means? That would be an angel of truth, of on the right hand side, you know, something righteous of the Lord, right? But it says that Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. So again, if you're looking for Satan today, all right, on the planet Earth, the spiritual demon Satan on the planet Earth today, and you want to see what he would look like, well, you can't look in the so-called Well, now there's a lot of areas in like the dark area where you looking like demonic ass shit that's going on, MK Ultra type of shit and that type of shit. And you can clearly see the damn devil there. But, however, in general, in the masses, if you want to see the devil in like how they say in public square, not in a private setting, all right, you just look at all these so-called things that like it says he's transformed to an angel of light. Look at all these things that's supposed to be a so-called, again, a fucked up word, a institution to push goodness, truth, and things like that, all right? So, i.e., your colleges, all your role models, anything or whoever you set up to be these damn role models, all right? Just look at the path of the world that the world is on right now, all right? You go to college, they tell you all kind of fucked up shit, evolution and feminism, all kind of crazy shit, right? You just destroying yourself. But that you would think that's the place to go to get higher education, to get wisdom and knowledge. But really, what are they giving you? They're giving you death and destruction in those places, all right? So, the TV and shit like that. They got these shows. I don't know. I'm gonna just name a show. I don't really know if this is on that type of show or not. It's the only show I can think of now. But The View. You have shows like The View and shit like that, or that other show with the one gay chick with the short haircut. Anyway, nevertheless, you have shows like that where these women or whatever whatnot, they tell you certain things, how to be a little healthier, how to do this and do that, blah 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 blah. They always giving you tips, right? But then you always hear later on that these tips is so-called kind of wrong, you know? They're like, oh, well, we've been doing this all wrong the whole time, you know? There was quite a few different things, you know, I done heard, you know, oh, well, actually, you know, coffee isn't good for you. Oh, actually, coffee is good for you. You know, certain things like that, you know, but all these different places like that, these are these so-called educational institutions, you know, again, these are fucked up words I'm trying to say, but, you know, more or less say these are places that's supposed to guide you into a path to so-called righteousness and as far as living in a society to being a good, productive human being and living a good life, you know, not as far as pushing you towards the most high type of stuff like that, but just, and all these other elements out here in the world, you know, like I said, the school systems, okay, when you take your kid, you put your kid in school, in your mind, you think that your kid's going to get the best of the best things that's going to be possible for him. You don't think no kind of harm is going to come from taking your kid to school. All right, you never think that if I take my kid to school, they're going to just break down all his real wisdom and knowledge and just indoctrinate his ass with wickedness. You know, you don't think about no shit like that. But again, hey, like the scriptures say, the damn devil is transformed to an angel of light. All right, these are the same people who, like at the grocery store or these restaurants, you know, McDonald's, we love to see you smile. But what are they serving you? Straight death. All right. So that's just in a so-called non-religious way, not dealing with like so-called religious institutes, but just everywhere else in the world, you know. But we're gonna get into this so-called religion, all right? Because like I said, this is one of the main places, you know, when people really want to find so-called truth, when they down and hurt, whatever, whatnot, and or they just seeking spirituality, you know. They go into the church, you know. It says, verse 15, therefore it is no great thing if his ministers, okay, the people who's pushing forth, okay, so here in this scenario, more or less, say we talking about I mean, this is in general, more or less, but this, again, is talking about it like in a religious sense, but again, all over the damn place. So if I'm the person that's head of education, okay, in the U.S. government, all right, I'm the head of education, I'd be the top of it all, right? I want this fucked up agenda to be pushed on these kids. Who am I going to put in charge of doing that? My superintendents, the principals, and whoever else is up under me that's above the teachers and so on and so forth, my so-called ministers, all right? That's why you vote these people in the so-called power, the so-called do good by you, but what are they always doing? Doing wickedness, all right? And the same way in these churches, all right? Like the Pope on down, in any of these so-called religious leaders on down to your little pastors and whatever, whatnot, you know? You think you can find trust and honor and confide in these people, you know, but really they fleecing the flock, man. They was set up for this, all right? These so-called Edomites set this whole system, especially Christianity, set this whole thing up just to destroy you, more or less to say, all right? It says, verse 15, therefore it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. All right, so the scripture saying they transformed into ministers of righteousness. You know, they wasn't called from, they wasn't chosen by Yahweh Bashem Yahushua to do that. That's just what these people decided they wanted to do. And really, at the end of the day, that was that, you know, that demonic ass spirit that was on them that sent them out there to deceive the world. You know, that's all they are, deceivers, devils. All right. Let me get Job 9 and 24 just to set the rest of this here up. This is Job 9 and 24. Says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. All right. Now I'm gonna just end it there. I'm gonna come back to this here precept in a second. This says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. All right. Now we're gonna jump to the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. All right. Now it said in Job 9 and 24, the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. All right. This is Maccabees 1 and 1. And it happened. What happened? All right. That's the question you should be asking. What happened? Because it just started out and said, and it happened. All right. What happened? The thing that happened was the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. All right. As you read in Job 9 and 24. That was a prophecy telling you that it was going to happen. And now we're actually seeing it take place right here, right now. All right. And this is the historic account of it. First Maccabees 1 and 1. And it happened after that Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian. Okay, so these people Macedonians are also Edomites, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, the king of the Persians and the Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. All right. And so when you go into Greek history, who was the first so-called king over Greece? All right. We all learned about this in so-called school and history and all that. Alexander, who they call Alexander the Great, or Alexander the Greek, or really he's Alexander the Macedonian. All right. It says, so this was the first time that the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. All right. That was the first person to take possession of the earth as the wicked. It says, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth and went through the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, and so much that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. So Alexander went forth and took all these kings' crowns from off their heads and slew all these kings. All right. And so like we read in Job 9:24, the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. So you had all these sovereign kings and kings ruling that eventually they didn't have to give up their kingdom, but Alexander basically came and took their kingdoms from them. All right. So, like the scriptures say, the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. All right. Spiritually, through the spirit, that these kings all fell basically at the feet of Alexander. All right. So verse 4, it says, he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. All right. So like we read in Job 9 and 24, this is the account that prophecy was talking about. The earth was given into the hand of the wicked. All right. It says, verse 5, after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years, then died. And his servants bare rule every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied upon the earth. Okay, so this is the time frame. This is just a so-called backup of a history lesson. This is basically going to be a lesson, basically more or less like a history lesson. All right. So, okay, it said, and it happened. What happened? The earth was given into the hand of the wicked. All right. Now, how did that happen? Alexander, Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian, came up out of Macedonia and became the first king over Greece, and then went from there and slew all these other kings and put crown and basically made them tributaries unto him. Took all these different lands and countries. All right. And I believe he died at like the age of 33 or something like that, Nevertheless, he was prophesied in the book of Daniel, man. He was going to be that leper that ran so fast that his feet didn't even touch the damn ground. In 12 years, all right, homeboy then basically conquered the whole known world at that time, Now look at our modern day presidents today. They can serve a maximum of what? 2 terms? What is that? Like 8 years? You know what I'm saying? So what is that? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 4 more years than that. You know what I'm saying? Like basically 2.5 terms would be the amount of time that Alexander went forth and conquered the whole planet. All right. Now, we've been in Syria since Barack Obama. All right. Now we still in Syria with Donald Trump. All right. We was in Afghanistan and Iraq with George Bush. And here we are still there with Donald Trump. All right. So you could just imagine how quick that was. The homeboy took over the damn earth. But nevertheless, we're going to jump back over to the book of Job 9 and 24 again to finish that one out. All right. So now we understand what happened. All right. When it said, and it happened in First Maccabees 1 and 1. So this is Job 9 and 24 again. It says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. which we just covered that. All right, when the earth was the time frame when the earth was actually given into the hand of the wicked. All right, and it says he covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? All right, now the end part of that is like the Most High kind of being funny, but also being serious about it. He's like, yo, if this ain't, he did this, and if it ain't him, like, if it ain't him, who else did this shit? Who is the image that you're looking at? He says he covered the face of the judges. When you look at like Yahushua's picture, or who the world calls Jesus Christ, when you look at that picture of Cesare Borgia, first of all, who is it a painting of? It's a painting of an Edomite, all right? And who is the painting and likeness of? You publicly tell us that's, the Lord, when we all know it's Cesare Borgia, all right? But then it's also, you painted the likeness of a Lord as an Edomite, all right? And then you also actually painted an actual Edomite, all right? Like you took a picture, of a person, you know what I'm saying? That the difference would be like somebody taking a picture of me, all right? And saying, you could take a picture of me and say that the Lord looked something like me, as far as the skin color, the hair texture, so on and so forth, But it don't mean that we look alike or nothing like that. The difference would be, okay, somebody taking a picture of me and saying, okay, like the Lord this is a picture of the Lord, all right? Like this is actually the Lord, an actual picture of him. Like somebody took a Polaroid and snapped a picture of me and be like, okay, this is the Lord. Like, nah, there's a difference between saying he looked like this, all right, and this is actually a depiction of him. Like, let me think of two different Edomites real quick. You got let's say Donald Trump, right? And let me think. Stephen Hopkins, right? The little dude in the wheelchair. They both look alike, all right? But they're not the same person, right? What do you mean they both look alike? Well, they both Edomites. You see what I'm saying? They both so-called got that white skin. All right, so those are things that they have in common, but they're not the same exact person. So here the Most High is saying, like, if not, who and where is he? First of all, he's painted in your likeness. Like I said, Donald Trump and Stephen Hopkins look alike. You know what I'm saying? But they don't look alike. They don't look nothing alike. You wouldn't have a picture of Donald Trump and mistake him for Stephen Hopkins. All right, but you would be like, oh, they both look alike as far as if you showed a 2-year-old or whatever a picture of two Edomites and an Israelite, a so-called a Judite, a Negro, so-called Negro. They're going to be like, okay, which two look alike? Okay, the two Edomites look alike, even though they physically look different. Their facial appearances look different or whatever, whatnot, But nevertheless, the Most High is saying, like, okay, who did this shit? The Edomites, all right? We just read about how Alexander took over all this shit, you know what I'm saying, all these different kings and all that stuff. And it says, he covered the faces of the judges thereof, if not where and who is he? All right, now we're going to get that account of when they actually did that. All right, so we read about how Alexander took over, and then his kings, or the dudes who grew up with him, more or less to say, split his kingdom afterwards, and evils was multiplied into the earth. All right, and I believe it said evils or wickedness was multiplied in the earth. All right, now when you go in the book of Malachi, they tell you that Esau is the border of wickedness. I think that's Malachi 1 and 3. But nevertheless, just harking on who we talking about, these Edomites here. All right, this is First Maccabees chapter 3 verse 48. Still speaking about these damn heathens, all right, which is this is talking about Alexander and his 4 kings after him, Antiochus, Ptolemy, and all these guys. So it says First Maccabees 3 and 48 says, and talking about the Edomites, and laid open the book of the law, which is the Bible, wherein the heathen, which are non-Israelites, and in this case, they actually Edomites, all right, because we reading about an actual lineage of Edomites here. This is just the power structure from Alexander on down, all right. It says, and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen has sought to paint the likeness of their images, all right. So, like we just read in Job 9 and 24, he covered the faces of the judges. How do you cover the faces of the judges? It's something called iconoclasm. Or sometimes what they say whitewashing, where they go over there and repaint these images, lighten them all up, why you don't have the nose on the Sphinx, why a lot of these statues are missing noses, because people like Napoleon was going around shooting the noses and the Negroid features off all these statues that was all over the whole planet Earth, so that they could so-called whitewash and basically cover up history, say everything was them, all right? Now let me jump down, I'll read verse 51. For thy sanctuary is trodden down and profaned, and thy priests are in heaviness and brought low. And lo, the heathen are assembled together against us. All right, so the heathen, the enemies, the Edomites are against us. First of all, they're in conglomeration with each other. They assembled together against us. It's us versus them, or them versus us. All right, to do what? To destroy us. With what? With things they imagine against us, thou knowest. All right, and how do they do that? We continue on reading this. All right, now let me go back over to First Maccabees chapter 1, and I'm gonna jump down to, I'll read it from verse 20. And after that, now this guy's name is either Antiochus or Antiochus, depending on how you want to pronounce this. But after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt and returned again in the 143rd year and went up against Israel and Judah with the great multitude. All right. And so now this is actually going into a couple different conversions. So this is also going into, actually, I believe the conversion already happened, which we was just reading about that, how he returned from Egypt. Right here. Damn. Verse 16. First Maccabees 1:16. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have dominion over two realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude and chariots and elephants and horsemen and a great navy, and made war with Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. All right, so here as you see Ptolemy, which is an Edomite, him and Antiochus were both Edomites under Alexander. This is when they going over in Egypt and whitewashing that. This is how you have Alexandria in Egypt, when they went and took over the libraries and so on and so forth. All right. And so as you see the process happening over in Egypt and the rest of the world, all right, the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. Now we dealing with our people. All right. It says, verse 20, and after that Antiochus has smitten, Egypt, and returned again in the 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and candlesticks and light and all the vessels. Yeah, right here, verse 22. And the tables of showbread and pouring vessels and vials and censers of gold and the veil and the crown and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. Okay, so basically they're going up into our so-called temples, not so-called, our temples, all right, what you would think of today as your modern day churches and stuff, more or less to say, but that's in wickedness, all right? And they just basically defiled it all. They took down all of the things that the Most High had us set up in there, all right? Let me read verse 24. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. Therefore was a great mourning in Israel in every place they were. So that the princes and the elders mourned, and the virgins and the young men were made feeble, and the beautiful woman was changed. Okay. So as you see, basically, verse 28, I'm gonna read that as well. The land also was moved for the inhabitation thereof, and the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. All right. So these are the Israelites being confused. They was, as what we read in here is basically a conversion from, you know what I'm saying, us knowing, okay, so in all our captivities, we still maintain the law, statutes, and commandments, and the understanding of who we were and these things like that, all right? But here you start to see this falling away, all right? This is now when they start to take all this knowledge away from us, all right? Put us into a state of confusion, all right? I'm going to read verse 30. And he spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit, all right? Just like in your modern day churches, you know, they prosperity, God wants you this, God wants that, and we all need to come together and so on and so forth. But it's all for deceit, to destroy your ass, all right? He fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much people of Israel. And they do that today with the mind instead. You know, all these damn churches inside our neighborhoods and stuff like that is destroying the minds of the people, you know, making them all docile. All right. And I'm going to jump down to verse verse 41. It says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. All right. So King Antiochus is writing out basically that everybody need to come consent up under his religion. All right. A one world religion. All right. He wanted to merge his own shit, make his own shit, just like how they doing today with this Christianity. All right. And so all the heathen decide, hey, look, we're going to just consent and join his religion. All right. It says verse 43. Yea, many of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. All right. So this is a very deep scripture. All right. You find out, even if you don't find out you're an Israelite just yet, but knowing that you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? You don't understand. You so caught up in your religion, Jesus, and so on and so forth, but you don't even realize that, like, you know, how some people like to argue, that's the white man's book. The white man gave you that. Yeah, these so-called white people did give you this religion, these stories and bullshit about all this stuff, all right? It says, yea, many of the Israelites consented to his religion, all right, and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbaths, all right? The Most High said, look, you sacrifice unto devils, not unto the Most High. Okay? Gods who you have not known and your fathers have not known, man. Some new shit, all right? It says, for the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land. Yeah, like that 501c3 that we have today. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days. All right, so if you got your so-called customs that you follow and this and that, but yet they tell you, hey, stop doing all right. You can't do this no more. All right. You're going to forget your customs and your ways. All right. You're going to keep going off with the Most High. All right. Verse 46. And pollute the sanctuary and holy people. All right. To make it dirty, to defile it. All right. So all of us coming up today, even if we so-called religious and Christianity, whatever, whatnot, we polluted and destroyed, man, because that's not what we're supposed to be following after to begin with. All right. That's a bunch of heathenistic practices. All right. It says, and set up altars and groves and chapels of idols. All right. Altars, groves, and chapels of idols. You know, I could think of different Christian sects that have different things like this up in there. You know, you go to some of those Methodist churches or whatever, whatnot. They have those big ass altars and stuff like that. Or the Catholic churches, they have those big ass altars. All right. Then you have also in the Catholic churches, these idols and shit like that. You know, you see the big ass statues of Peter, Paul, or these people who they say is all these people, you know, Peter, Paul, and whatever, whatnot. You know, they have all these stained glass paintings, all these different things. All right. So set up altars, groves, chapels of idols, you know, churches full of idols, those Catholic churches, and sacrifice swan's flesh and unclean beasts. Yeah, especially in these Negro churches, you know. A lot of them is eating pork right after church, you know. It says, verse 48, that they should leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness and profanation. And that's exactly the state of being that we are in when we grow up in Babylon to this day, you know. When we first grow up, this is what we're growing up in. We already growing up being misguided in the wrong direction, all right? So just imagine, let's say a woman is in labor, right? About to have a baby. And she's in you trying to drive her to the hospital, right? But you're on the highway, you know, there's only one hospital in the whole world. You know, you got to get on the highway and go north, all right, till you get to the hospital, right? It's the only hospital in the whole planet Earth, right? And you got to get there, right? And you get on the highway and you start driving south, all right? The hospital is only 15 minutes north, but you get on the highway, you start driving for 5 hours south, all right? Now, you already going in the wrong direction, all right? And your whole life, you heading in the wrong direction. Now that child, because it ain't got to the hospital on time, the woman went in labor while she in the car. So now the baby is being born already in a car that's moving in the wrong direction. So this child is being forced to be growing up. Is like, you know how they say, you know, whatever, whatnot. You growing up in a fucked up scenario, you know. I'm just giving you an example. But this child is being born and raised in this car that's already heading in the wrong direction. All right. You already 5 hours in the wrong direction. All right. And you just constantly still going 100 miles an hour, full steam ahead. All right. So this child's going to grow up, but he's already growing up in the wrong direction and already fucked up. So now when he has this child, when they have their child, they're still in that same car going the wrong way and so on and so forth. All right. You know, it's just an analogy. I mean, that's pretty much what it is here, you know. From this point in time here, you know what I'm saying? They have been giving us this whitewashed ass religion all the way on down till today. All right. It's the same ass shit. All right. says, verse 49, this is the reason why they did it, all right? To the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances, all right? I'm going to just jump down real quick, verse 56. And when they had rent in pieces the book of the law, which they found, they burnt them with fire. So they went through, all right? Now, this ain't no real religion in the truth that the Most High has set up. Why would the Most High have his top priest or whatever, his high priest, go out there and burn up all the damn Bibles, find all the Bibles, rip them up and burn them all up and sacrifice swine's flesh? No, this is the abomination. This is that angel of light being, this devil being transformed into an angel of light. All right, the damn devil walking around being cloaked. All right. Now from there, I'm going to try to grab two more precepts. I know I haven't been on for too long, but nevertheless, grab these two and we're going to close out. Just to further prove, you know, if you have time, you read all of First Maccabees chapter 1. You know, that really goes into a lot of that. All right. This is, what am I looking for? Oh, yeah, Psalm 79. Psalm 79 and 1. Says a psalm of Asaph. O Yahweh, the heathen are coming to thine inheritance. Thy holy temple have they defiled and laid Jerusalem on heaps. All right. It says the heathen are coming to thine inheritance. So the heathen basically is standing in our place as far as they inherited our blessings. They're the ones walking around with our name on. All right. So it's like you getting married to a woman, right? She's inheriting your name. All right. When she go to try to divorce your ass, she going to inherit half of your shit. All right. Y'all done became one. Y'all done joined together, you know. What's mine is yours and what's yours is mine type of shit, you know. That's how we were supposed to be with the Most High. But basically, we went off and the Most High cast us out. But now these heathen basically trying to join themselves up into the things that the Most High has set forth for us. All right. So it says, the heathen are coming to thine inheritance. All right. Talking about they're the ones with the law, the laws, the lawgivers. There's a priest, the prophets, the heads of the church, and so on and so forth. All right. And they should have dominion over the world. It says, thy holy temple have they defiled. Yeah, like in these churches, not really the church, but the whole ideology of so-called church and how we believe it or think of it nowadays, but the so-called religious institute, they defiled all of that, all right? They set up all these abominations. You could do this, you could do that, all kind of crazy wickedness. They didn't defile all of that. That whole system has been defiled, all right? It says, thy holy temple have they defiled, and they have laid Jerusalem on heaps. All right. Yeah, they've how do I say, taken our culture and all the things that we've had, all of our things we can look back on and see, this is us, this is, you know, these are our footprints in the sand. They didn't took all of that and you know, you walking down a damn beach, you know, with a bunch of trees. So you know, get the picture I'm saying. You know, you're walking down the beach, you know what I'm saying? And it's this path, you don't want to get lost. So you're going to follow your footsteps back, you know, back up about the hole, right? So you want to make sure that your footprints stay in the damn sand, you know. But nevertheless, Esau that came from behind us and covered up all our footprints, so we don't know which way to go when we going back. All right. So now we just lost, don't know who the hell we are. All right. Grab one more precept real quick and we're gonna close out. This is the book of Ezekiel chapter 36, starting at the top. It says, also thou son of man, prophesy unto the mountain of Israel and say, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh power, because the enemy, also the Edomites, so-called white man, have said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are in our possessions. All right, so the Most High has said, look, the heathen has basically taken your inheritance, your possession. All right, and now they're saying the heathen has saying against the ancient high holy places, they're in their possessions. They own them now. All right. It says verse 3, therefore prophesy and say, thus saith Yahweh power, because they have made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, that you may be a possession unto the residue of the heathen. All right. You are taken up the lips of talkers and are an infamy of the people. Yeah, we just niggas and spicks and shit to them. All right. We not actually the children of the Lord to them, but they didn't hijacked all of our shit trying to be us. All right. That's exactly what didn't happen. All right. Now, and then when we go back to look at the Bible, when we all heard this and that, we looking for the Most High. We don't want nothing to do with the Bible. Because why? Because the damn enemy then came in and hijacked the shit and shit it all over the damn place. We don't even want nothing to do that resemble a collections of books. You see what I'm saying? Anything that is even remotely related to that, we don't want to hear that. Because we so used to the so-called white man who had hijacked all this and shitting all over it, that it just, how do I say, it turns us off from this, all right? But once you understand, you have the understanding about all this, you would realize that the so-called white man have been trying to tiptoe his way around through this here Bible to hide all these different things, because all of the Bible pretty much condemns his ass. That's why when you go to regular church nowadays, you got to stick in the Psalms 23, John 3:16, those type of light ass scriptures like that for so-called Christians to keep stumbling over. All right, but they can't really go into these here scriptures because any and everywhere you turn in here, you're reading about Jacob and Esau and the wickedness of Esau. All right, they the main characters. This is what the whole thing is about. All right. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out. Like I said, Salakia for the time and all that. But Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Until next time, I say, Call Halal Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rakal Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that taught me this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity in the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions. Hey, Akim, stay strong. Shalom.